G'day everyone. Proud to say Barkarati is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
How are you, mate?
Oh, very well, thank you. Got to say, Etchells World Championships 2025, the event that just keeps on giving. This just keeps on giving. This keeps rolling along, you know. It takes forever to go away.
That was a bit weird.
Well, you know, it's been a couple of weeks.
Your arm's not come back to full length yet.
No, they're definitely not.
Hang on, let's bring in the other.
My shoulders aren't in their sockets yet.
Righto. Well, bring in the other bloke.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Gents, just zoning in on what has been a nice little break at home.
Yeah.
Getting ready to hit the road off to NZ tomorrow. So to all our listeners over in NZ, maybe I might see you around the Millennium Cup next week.
Oh, there
but
it is.
Just commenting earlier to you, Jordan, before we came on air, that I general practice, I'll clean the shed the day before I leave, clean my office, current recording studio, and it was my birthday a week ago.
Yeah.
So I went out with the boys. We might have had a few sherbets, came back to my place. Things got a little bit loose and the boys got hold of the old bugger salt, the bugger salt. Mate, there's so much salt in this office. Apparently Glenn Ashby's going to run his next speed sail land speed record out of it. It's like the top of Lake Gardner at the minute. Jeez.
How did the boys go with the wing foils in the shed? They didn't hit the foils?
I tell you what, my little mouse, as I move around here, it's quite crunchy.
I love it.
I had a whole bunch of sheep walk through just licking it.
You know, there's a certain sense of efficiency that your mates have provided for you, boys. So like when you got to salt a bit of meat before it goes into the the smoker.
You just slap it on the wall.
That's how I prepared the barbecue. The next day, just came in and rolled my pork loin on the floor.
Oh dear. Hey,
anyway.
Good on you. Happy birthday for the other week.
Yeah,
Obviously.
happy birthday for
thanks.
last week. Well,
Thanks, boss.
we're very close, aren't we, birthday-wise?
Yep. Birthday. We've had a break. We had a week off. I just couldn't fit it in with SailGP. We'll come back and
We'll
talk about it. Just so much.
SailGP.
That's right. We're going on that. But there has been some shit happening this week. And the most exciting piece of news this week, and we'll come back to this, but if you go to the Vaikobi website, that's all I need you to do, and you go to lifestyle and merch, you'll see the words Barkarati there.
Oh,
Yes.
It's the biggest
How
news
good.
in sailing this week.
If that's too hard for you, go and click on the little search engine and type in the words Barkarati. It'll take you where you need to be. It's
actually, I'll add it to our website as well.
Yep.
The link through,
Oh,
and we'll just bombard every bastard with the Barkarati hoodie that's come out on our socials this week.
no, it's this is the sun shirt, not the hoodie. We've got hoodies if you want them.
Yeah, the sun shirt hoodie.
Yep.
Sorry. But guys, I don't throw this term around lightly.
Ocean
Not
Tech
lightly.
hooded top.
Ball tightener.
A ball
Absolute ball tightener. I mean, maybe a couple of thousand times per year you might hear it coming out my mouth. But this is an absolute cracker.
Yeah.
And there hasn't Patrick just gone to the next level?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Got someone modelling it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't believe he didn't ask us.
I know.
I know. That's why I'm.
Do they have
well,
the dad
in
bod
particularly
version?
Jay. I mean, Jay would have looked good in that hood.
Yeah, well,
That's
the
least
hood
you
had
could
to
say
be
about it.
expanded. So
Oh, dear. Yeah.
no, but we will discuss further, and I'm looking forward to the launch party, yet to be organised.
Yeah.
Yet to be put in the diary.
Oh,
But
dear.
it could be an absolute ball
You need
tightener.
to take one before you go to bloody Caribbean. mate.
Oh, what we should do, yeah. We could do like a Northern Beaches launch at Pat's
Yep.
factory.
Factory,
Thanks,
at the
Pat.
factory.
You're welcome.
Pat's pad.
We'll set that up.
As we like to call it, Pat's pad.
Yeah. That's a good idea. We'll get a couple over. But yeah.
All right.
Oh, it is.
We'll come back
Next
to that.
bit of news, Jordan.
Big
Spencer.
news.
There is other big news, obviously, and we might touch on that first. There has been some ructions, some falling apart. The love is gone. Ben Ainslie and Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos.
Jim.
It's separate. They've blown apart. So the UK America's Cup team is now split, and there's all sorts of questions we have to ask about that. Bicey, you are very much, probably you're able to see all sides, and I'm not sure if you're allowed to say a single word about all this because you are very close into quite a part of that, what the Kiwis are seeing and what's happening in the team. Is there anything you're allowed to say?
Well, I can't say anything, but what I will say is this a tactic from Sir Ben Ainslie to cause the fraction to get more money, access to more money, or is it a legitimate split? And we're going to see, basically, remembering that the Ineos and what yacht club was it? They are now the challenger of record. So there's
The Royal.
invested in it. But basically, as it stands, as of today, there are going to be 2 teams from the UK.
Yeah.
Which is Ineos and Athena, I believe Sir Ben has called his team.
Yep, that's correct.
So more to cut. Like, this is just the last couple of days, and you would have had to have been under a rock to not have seen it. But as for the exact detail, looks as though the Ineos team have just carrying on as per normal. They've appointed Dave Vendee as CEO, my old mucker. And on the other side of the fence, not sure who Ben has taken with him, but we're going to see a second America's Cup team out of the UK.
Yeah, so this is where it gets really interesting because there's a couple of questions that need to be thought about. One is who actually is the challenger of record, because it's the yacht club that's the challenger of record, and who's negotiating in that situation, because and then to the sailing team, a lot of the sailing team are tied up with the SailGP team, and so I'm not really sure how that's all going to play out. So the challenger of record is the Royal Yacht Squadron, is my memory of it.
Yep, correct.
And when the whole partnership with Ineos started, so Ineos was to come in as a backer, I understand, but they basically took ownership effectively. But I'm not sure about that. But basically, they came in, they wanted the whole thing. So Ineos, for the last 2 editions, have been the main player. And now Ben was CEO, and now that has changed. And so is Ben standing alone, or is Ben with his SailGP team? Is Ben still part with the yacht club?
Just questions.
I don't know how it's all going to play out. And from the perspective of negotiating the terms of the 38th America's Cup, for those who don't understand, the challenger, the defender, and the first team to be accepted as a challenger negotiate the terms. And then so it becomes the defender and the challenger of record. So the UK team, as it was before the ructions, was the challenger of record. And so they're mid-negotiating those terms. And then any other people that want to sail have to sail according to the terms agreed by those 2 teams. And so I don't know how that's all going to play out. You probably know more than me, Mr. Bice.
Oh, no, I thought, given I'm flying NZ tomorrow, I'll just go for a little rat-a-tat-tat down on the door at Team New Zealand, and maybe I'll ask Dolts what's going on.
It's a lot of people been floating around that door the last week.
I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll find some goss.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting. There's so much to play out now. Ben,
it wouldn't be an America's Cup without such things.
Controversy is the
right?
word you're digging for. Controversy.
Well, it's not really a controversy. Like, it's all above. Well, we don't know how long it's been going on, but basically it's two teams wanting to compete for the America's Cup for the same country.
Yeah, and you're saying it could be a negotiating tactic. That's one way of looking at it. You know, there's just a big pushback. It's interesting because Ratcliffe, I don't know him. Do you know him? Does anybody here know him?
I walked past his boat in Barcelona. Gave him a wave. He didn't wave it back, though.
He's put plenty of money into like soccer teams and cycling team and Formula One. So he owns a fair bit of Mercedes. He had the they call Ineos Grenadiers now, but you know the former Sky team, which was the dominant cycling team in world cycling for a long time. And then which teams he got in English football?
Couldn't tell you.
Is it Liverpool or Man United? But basically, it doesn't mean anything to us. But with due respect, every team he's got involved with has gone backwards, except for the British America's Cup team. They've got better and got stronger, and you know, to make it into the final. So I'm interested. Your mate is going to have a fairly hefty job. So I'm not going to throw you under the bus here and get you to talk about that. But the new CEO, let's say that, is going to have a lot of work on. And then suddenly the other thing that of real interest is with the nationality rules, who's going to be sailing the boat? If they run two teams, who's going to sail the boat?
Well, you only need 4 anyway. I'm sure the UK could pick
it's
up
not like you
people.
need a plethora.
I mean, they're probably one of the most talented nations in yachting.
Yeah,
they'll find them.
Yeah,
that won't be the issue.
Will Goody come back?
Just about 300 million quid. That'll be the issue. Per team.
Yeah. Will Goody come back?
Oh, mate. Did you hear any rumours about it at SailGP?
No, I did not. No, I was having a chat to Dylan, but he refused to tell me anything. And I didn't see Ben at all. So yeah, but this has got a lot to play out. So there's a fairly good chance that if it all does stay apart, that Ben could get funding. You know, like he would.
100%. I don't doubt that at all. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. What is it? 4 or 5 medals around his neck, just walking into the boardroom.
Yeah.
Just clanging and banging and knocking the varnish off of the board table. Yeah. I'm sure that is going to go a long way to raising a couple lunge.
And, you know.
I say it lightly.
Yeah.
We got a bloody tax bill this week for a couple $100.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Keith Mills still in the background, I assume. So I don't know. We can't say anything. But that strengthened the relationship with Mercedes-Benz and their Formula One team, and with all the technology elements, that was fairly major to the support of the UK team. So there's a lot going on here, but that's what makes the Cup so interesting, isn't it? All this sort of stuff.
100%. Maybe we bring back the Secret Pro. So if anyone wants to send in any anonymous information, please do. We won't mention your name.
Ping.
Cheers at barkarati.com. And for those that know our numbers, go for it. And even other teams for that matter. Tell us what your theories are.
Oh, dear.
And this could be another segment. We can call it the America's Cup Secret Pro. Just coming through.
Brought to you by.
Oh, dear. There's stuff going to be happening. Anyway, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Shall we?
Yeah, maybe we should move on with our guest, shall we?
Yeah, bring in our guest and talk about that because we're back with guests. We've been busy. We've been doing stuff, but we've gone to the top of the tree. One of the US's great sailors, one of the absolute legends in the US. He's been smashing it in the world of sailing since he started. The old American college system, he made it his bitch, winning non-stop all the way through that. He's won world champs in J70s, in Etchells, in Melges 24s, in Farr 40s, in Melges 20s, match racing. He's been the US Yachtsman of the Year. He's just spent a bit of time with BP, so he's called in because he didn't have enough time with BP, and so we're going to do that. But welcome. We're very excited to have on the show and to welcome Bill Hardesty. So, Bill, thanks for joining us on Bar Karate, mate. It's a real honour to have you on the show.
Well, thank you.
Mate, I do a lot of research before these interviews, and one of the things that's come up is...
Research team, we call you.
Yeah, the research team. You've been admitted to the Hall of Fame for the US MMA. How long have you been into mixed martial arts fighting?
Right. So I don't know how much you guys actually. It's a Merchant Marine Academy. You guys would call it the Merchant Navy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, how funny.
It was too hard to resist, but amazing honour, mate.
Right.
Your record is quite good. How did you get into sailing? I think it was Hobie Cats with Dad, wasn't it?
It was initially, yeah. We had a Hobie 16. We launched off the beach and we'd go down. Basically, we had our truck camper and our Hobie 16, and we would go on Friday and sail all weekend, go back Sunday and back to school all weekend. And that was basically all summer in San Diego as a kid. So,
wow.
Try not to step on bumblebees in the grass area. And we would just sail around Mission Bay. I don't know if you've been there. It's kind of our little small bay here in San Diego. And God, it was fun. The good old days.
We have a lot of people on the show, and one of our sort of major sort of things with Bar Karate is we talk about pathways. Was it instant for you when your dad first put you on the boat? Your earliest memory, was it something? Yeah, this is me. I love this.
Or Dad, why the hell are we doing this again?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was fun, and it wasn't really, it wasn't like we weren't even racing at first. It was. My dad bought this Hobie and he made us polish it in the front yard, my sister and I. So we had to do, the child slave labor a bit.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah, right. Then we went down to the beach, and one day he was hanging on the beach and he met these racers and we started racing. And then Hobie 16s were like hugely popular, hundreds of them at like the local weekend event. And they had an expert, an intermediate, and novice division. So we were novices. And we would sail around, and at first, my sister and I would all three of us would sail with my dad. So my sister and I, my dad, and they have a minimum weight limit. And then eventually, I don't know why, my sister stopped sailing with us. But one of my favorite memories is we went down to Ensenada, which is Mexico, 2 hours south of San Diego here, and it was just my father and I, and he had these on the truck that he had. This was like in the, early 80s, maybe like even like 82 probably. So he had these like horns that went off the sides of the truck, and he put the catamaran right on the back of the truck. No trailer or anything. The thing sat right on the top with the mast and the whole thing up there.
Wow.
We drove to Mexico. We slept in the back of the truck. There's no tailgater and there's no like cover on the back. So we slept there, and it was really fun. There'd be a band playing, and it was just like one big festival. And we went off the starting line one time, and my dad swings out on the trapeze. I think I was too small to even trapeze. So I would just sit in, and I would sit on the high side up forward, and he would go out on the trapeze, and we'd race around. And one of the races, hops out on the trapeze, misses his hook, and slips into the water. And so there I am. It's one of those like Alone at Sea. They have all these
shit moments. An shit moment.
Yeah, it's the shit moment, right? It's 7 years old probably. And so I luckily knew how to sail well enough that I didn't crash into anybody. I was able to return, pick them up. We continued the race. And then over the series of the races, the morning before the final day, we catch wind that we're being protested because we're underweight. And so my dad had to go to the organizers and withdraw from the event, and then we made a deal that we were going to continue the regatta, but without being scored.
Wow.
So that was one of my very first memories of doing a regatta.
Wow.
And it was shortly after that he said, this summer you're doing the junior sailing program, and he bought me my own little boat, a Sabot, with the lee board on the side.
Yep.
And that was basically the beginning of it. And once I had my own boat, then I was free. I could go out and under the bridge and sail around. And, I didn't really even understand if there were any risks, but I was a free man. I had my boat, and off I went.
We discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and the Sabot, as you said, as we call it, a Sabo. We don't have lee boards on the side, but it's basically the same little boat. So there you go.
Was it like with once you got the Sabo, once you got that boat, did you just go after school every day? Were you was it that sort of thing? That was your adventure. You just kept going and going and going.
Well, it was, well, we got the boat, and it was the spring times, and then there's the summer sailing program. And so, it's the good old days. And I'm trying to find this community for my son now, who's 10, where we would put my bicycle in the back of this same pickup truck. My dad still had this thing.
Yeah.
And he would drive me down to the yacht club in the morning, and I had my Sabo, my surfboard, and my bicycle, and everything sort of stashed at the yacht club.
Wow.
And then in the evening I would ride the bicycle home, like 3 or 4 miles, like long ways.
Yep.
And we just did that all summer, and we'd be sunburned, and it was, it wasn't good in some ways, but it was like this ultimate adventure for us. My sister and I both doing this. And it was just this free life of, being a real child, doing whatever you wanted to do. And then in the weekends, we'd all hop in somebody's car or van and drive with the trailers all up to wherever the regatta was. And I just really loved the independence. And then, once I was pretty good at the sailing, because we started in the Hobie, and I was sailing that thing by myself pretty young. And so, a little bit of success, a lot of independence, and having my own boat to maintain and deal with, all the little details. I was hooked at that point. I was 9 years old when we first got the Sabo, so it was a couple of years into it already.
Amazing. What I'm picking up here, lads, is that the modern style is coach. That I think we all grew up in that style where you just go sailing.
Piss off. Off you go. Push off the beach.
Yeah.
Parents trying to get rid of us.
You'll learn to tack.
Leave me alone. I'm going. And I used to sail like people. I don't know of anybody in the modern era that would take their Sabo in the ocean. And I used to sail out the jetty, out to the ocean, sail around. There'd be seals on the buoy out there, sea lions, and I'd go out there and sail around the sea lions and sail back in. And then I'd go to the yacht club and go, "Oh yeah, I went to the ocean today." They go, "You did what?" "Yeah, I was out there." And it was just a part of the adventure. And now I don't even think they let the kids sail without a coach. And I'm trying to encourage this at the yacht club. I said, we need to get these kids out there. They need to experience the thrill of being on their own a little bit.
100%.
Like teach them how to capsize and get it up, right? Fix the problems that they come into, instead of just having this nanny state that we currently have, that, they have, they're one coach for every 4 kids or some crazy number. And next thing you know, you got so many powerboats. It's crazy.
It is.
Apparently, Trump he's about to sign an executive order, but that's the only way going forward.
Right.
Kids sailing order.
I love it.
Well, talk about those signatures, huh? He's been signing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
With the big
Just
pen as
slip
well.
one in the
We'll leave that
nice folder.
Yeah,
Sign this week.
Move on from that.
Right.
With one of the things that it sounds like, you got early on very much a spirit of adventure. We have talked over and over on this show to the pathway for young kids, and when coaching is just to make it fun for the kids, get them out there, just sail and do whatever. For you've evolved into one of the top pro sailors in the world, but you still have that spirit of adventure from what I can work out. You still jump on a cruising boat and go on, you've got. It's not just about racing for you, is it?
Well, it's funny you say that. I've been accused of changing hobbies frequently.
Oh.
So there was a bit of paragliding at one point, which was one of my favorite activities. It takes a lot of time out of your day, but it is, it's a wind sport that's very strategic, 3-dimensional with, rising air and wind and coming around different mountains. That's an amazing sport. If you ever get a chance.
Got trees,
yeah. I avoided trees. They always say hit trees over rocks, though, if you have a choice.
What?
If you have a choice, always go for trees over the rocks. No, I race off-road cars. I have a little off-road buggy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you'll see. Go on my Facebook page. You'll see.
I did notice that. I saw
top pictures of my buggy. That's a little 1-seater buggy. It's an inexpensive class. I think it's a very Californian thing to do that. But we race in Mexico as well. I raced with some Mexican guys on their team, and I'm only 1 year into it. And it's pretty exciting still. It's interesting. It's really hard on the body, and everybody complains that it hurts their backs. But I'll tell you, the Etchells is harder on my body than that off-road racing. That week of sailing the Etchells, holy cows, limping around for 10 days.
I've only just recovered, mate.
Right.
This off-road racing.
Do you show all your driving buddies photos of you just sailing in the ocean, saying, "You think this is hard? Try."
They laugh at me. They're like, "What are you doing going 6 knots? That's crazy. We're going 60 to 100."
Oh, you had Bicey with the off-road stuff until you said 60 to 100, because I don't think he goes above 10 in his rig.
Yeah, the Land Rovers don't necessarily go that quick.
Right.
Pulls big boats out of the water though, Bicey. Eh?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so you're not constrained by just sailing, but that element of adventure is still there. So, what's the next bloody hobby?
Well, that's a good question. What I'd really like to do, actually, because the off-road racing is very similar to the sailing, and the planning is pretty much everything. You need to get the preparation down. You need to have the course figured out. You need to know all the obstacles and what track you're going to run and who's going to be where. If you do a 500-mile race, you need to have staging of where all the different support vehicles are with fuel and parts and, the technicians and whatever else. It's the same thing. It's like a little miniature around the world race where you got to think, 5 steps ahead. Being a team manager is like something that would be fun, and doing a little bit of racing with the guys in nicer cars than what I can buy would be pretty cool. The trophy trucks, for example, are like, they're like the TP52s of the off-road racing world. There's $1 million truck, and that's only the beginning. Wow, and so, and then they go a little bigger from there. But yeah, there's an Australian guy, Toby Price.
Yeah.
I think he's from Brisbane area, but he's quite good. He won the race that I did in Mexico, the Baja 500, and he does the Dakar rallies and things like that. He's a pretty good guy. I've hung out with him a little bit down in Mexico.
Yeah, so that's how you got used to the Aussie accent when you were down the other week.
Right. Well, I lived in Australia. You guys may have heard when the ISAF Worlds were happening in Melbourne. I moved there. I actually bought a Ford Falcon station wagon with the wheel on the wrong side of the car, and I put my laser on the roof rack, and I drove around. I drove to Sydney, Mooloolaba, back to Melbourne twice.
Never
all
died.
Around.
Never say die. The old Ford Falcon.
The Ford Falcon, yeah. I wanted a ute, but I couldn't figure out how to sleep in the back very easily. So
that's kind of.
It was cool on the wrong side of the road. The whole thing. I learned a lot. My accent was pretty good then, but then I realized American accent was more successful for me in some ways.
Especially when you put on your military uniform.
All right.
It works the other way around in the US, mate. If Australian accent works very well in the US, is all I'll say. You could have, if you took it home. You could have had the best of both worlds.
So back to the yachting a bit, Bill.
The sailing podcast,
guys. Come on,
it's very serious. No, so when did it kind of click when you were actually knew you were good and could follow the right path and jump in the right boats, or was that college or pre-college?
So I was pretty lucky as a youth. We had a youth group that was called the Longhorn Yacht Racing Association. It was out of Texas, and it was an invite-only thing. And you had to be, if you were from Texas, you could join a little younger. But if you were, I was from San Diego here, so I got invited, and it had to be about 16. So you did it in your high school years, from 16, 17, 18, maybe. I did 2 summers, and then I went to university. And this lady that was running the thing, she would organize all of our calendars, and we would go off and we'd hop in the van, and we would drive for like 75 days straight. We would camp in the van, and we go regatta to regatta to regatta. Wow. And that was sort of the beginning of, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I won the nationals, the youth championships, the Canadian nationals, a bunch of championships as a teenager. So I was pretty young, and I thought, okay, this is pretty good. And then you get recruited for university sailing and so forth. But the reality is, at that point, there's no pro sailing. And I sailed with Dennis Conner a little bit as a kid in the Etchells. And so he's one of these guys, I don't know if you guys have sailed with him, but he likes to ask all sorts of questions all the time. So he's one big guy one big challenge, a big guy too, but he's a big challenge. Like, he's always like, what do you want to do when you grow up? What about this? You want to be a pro sailor? Good luck. You're not good enough. He'd always say these things. And so you look at it and you're like, you know what? He might be right. How do you become a pro sailor? There was no pathway. There was no whatever. And then I got out of uni in 98, and so it was like, well, what am I going to do? I need to get a job. So I got a job.
What did you study at uni,
for a little while? I studied marine engineering to work on a ship.
Oh, yep. He's the camel of the US.
A big freighter.
Yeah.
What was that?
You're the camel of the US. Very one of our great mates in the Australian sailing scene. He's nicknamed Camel, but he's a marine engineer. And quite, yeah. Anyway, so continue.
Sorry, so you got out of uni, yep.
So it's a pretty good career path if you like to work for long periods and then get long periods off. So it was sort of, you could do a lot of sailing and you made pretty good money. And if you worked at it for a while and became captain or chief engineer or whatever pathway you took, it was a lonely life in some ways, but a very, nice life in other ways. And I didn't really want to go to sea. So I worked at a power plant. And then I met this guy at the yacht club, and he had this manufacturing plant. We started chatting. He says, I want you to come and sail with me. There was a boat called the One Design 35. And it was designed here in San Diego by Bruce Nelson. It had no backstay. It's like a little 35-foot sort of shaped like a Farr 40 with no backstay and like a hydraulic on the headstay to tension the rig. So it's a lot of rig tune, a lot of headstay, positioning. And so I said, well, I have this job I need to do, so I can't really sail with you. And the next thing he says, well, come meet me in the office and I'll show you around. So I met him. He walked me around the shop, and he says, I think you can run the maintenance department here and you can sail with me on the side. And I thought, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So I quit the power plant job, started working at this factory. It was an Australian guy, actually. He was David Riley, and he owned a company called Solatube. I don't know if you heard of them. Tube skylights.
No,
started in Australia,
yep.
I think in the Sunshine Coast.
Yep.
Hence the the good sunshine there for the Sola tubes. It's a tube skylight, goes through the attic space in the house. He moved to San Diego. He moved to San Diego because there was a bigger market. And then he moved to a Chinese market, and he really took it off, and took it out there and was really successful with all of the things that he did. And I worked and sailed with him for a while, and then the Farr 40s really came on. And that was sort of the pathway at that point. It was sort of like, we got this One Design keel boat that are hiring professionals. And I fit in. I was a little young for the tactician role. It's still in my early 20s. And I fit the main sheet world pretty well. And so I sailed with Vince Bruin, old Etchells sailor. And I sailed on a few boats, but that was the boat that I sailed mostly on. And that was the beginning of the pro sailing thing.
Well, I think that was the beginning of pro sailing for a lot of people, because that circuit just went on and on and on. I mean, if you look at the names that have come out of that are sailing now, it's pretty full on.
And the America's Cup was a different animal altogether. I had missed all the big boat stuff in New Zealand because I was sailing lasers and was too busy. And then when it all went to Valencia, they didn't want these new guys coming in unless you were the multi-gold medalist or somebody that was, extra special. I couldn't get the job in Valencia very easily because I had no big boat experience. I was they called me Laser Boy on the 440 circuit. And,
Laser Boy.
And so
did you wear a costume?
Yeah, so Laser Boy sailed 440 for a long time.
Did you wear a lycra hood and, like a special colored lycra suit?
Shut up, right. And then
it was always an issue on the big boats because the cape getting caught in the pedestals.
And so then that basically turned into Melges 24 sailing, and then whatever was going on, Mump 30s, and then that was sort of at that point when I started sailing. I was on the Pyewacket, the Canting, the first iteration of the Canting keel boats, to Morning Glory and Pyewacket. I got on with the Pyewacket with the Disney team, and we started doing the maxi boat sailing, and I was still working at Solitude. And so I'm sailing all these various classes and trying to work full time and run the maintenance department at this factory. And one day the boss came and he says, "All right, what's going on? You've taken 12 weeks of vacation. This is becoming a bit too much." And I said, "Yeah, the problem is I have another offer. I'm going to go start match racing." And he said, No. And or you guys would say, "Nah, yeah, nah."
Yeah,
and so that's probably what he said. Nah. And so I said, "Well, I need to go and do this. This is what I'm doing." And he says, all right, let's make a deal. You work for 3 more months and you transfer all your stuff over to this other guy. I'll pay you for these 3 months, and then you're free. You just sail with me when you can. And I said, "Okay, that's a good deal." And off I went, and I was making more money than I was at the factory. Wow. And so then I knew that was what made me happy, and that was my path forward. And so then at that point, you're just like, total sailing whore. You sail on anything and everything. So I was, from small boats to big boats all around the world. It was really cool. Didn't realize I liked being home a little more often, but at that point, man, it was neat.
Yeah, wow. What a story, eh?
So I was bouncing between all the one design classes, match racing, and the odd big boat here and there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, that's it, exactly. And then 2007 rolled around, and I got my Etchells, and I bought the Etchells from. Basically, I bought it from a guy. He didn't even know he owned the Etchells. This guy, Bill Rue. He's sort of a. He had the boat in San Diego. There were 3 partners, and he was sort of the main partner, I guess. And he had the boat got to San Diego by like a 4th party in the matter. And then I went to him and said, "I want to buy your boat." And he says, "My boat? I have a boat? Where is it?" "It's in San Diego." "What?" And so I got a really good deal. The guy didn't even know he had the boat. So it was pretty easy to convince him that I was taking his liability away. And he was a banker at that point. So he's like, "I don't need any liability." He's pretty,
wow,
pretty successful guy. And so I bought that Etchell, and then I started cleaning it up. I did some re-rigging, and it was 979. It was a boat from the Worlds in Newport Beach, I believe. He was a Dave Curtis boat. So it was like they were trying to compete with the Bashford boats at the time. And this Ontario boat that I got was a kind of a copycat of those old Bashford boats. And the rules were still, kind of loose, and everything was sort of, with the keels, whatever they are, they're a little fatter and a little further aft, or there's whatever the deal is with them. And I just got my young team together, and we just hiked harder for a long time, and that was pretty good for us. So that was sort of the beginning of my Etchells programs. Was cool.
It's an interesting thing before we dive into Etchells, the whole US scene, it's quite different for what we're used to, but you've got a lot of sailors, but it sort of, is it different East Coast to West Coast? Is there a different sort of vibe?
Well, totally. And it kind of reminded me there when we were in Brighton, all those boats live on this little yard dollies, we call them, trawlers, whatever you call them. And they don't travel. Those boats are there. They stay there. Somehow they get there, they get put on one of those carts, and they sail there
for the next
and that's
30 years.
how it is here in Yeah, 30 years, right. They rot there, they live, they're born there, they die there. Sort of, that's the deal. And we have the same here in San Diego. And boats in San Diego, there's there's 30-year-old boats that are like, they look brand new. They've only sailed here, and it's light wind and nice and easy. And then we have on the East Coast, to answer your question, like Miami is our biggest circuit, and we have, those are all travelers.
Yeah.
And they come from, Canada down all the way. And that's people that don't have a local fleet. Miami is their local fleet, and they arrive in November and they stay until April, and they sail all winter long, our winter. And it's awesome. Like the slow year is 50 boats, 45 boats. It's incredible. So it's two separate groups. The class was designed around fleets, and that's sort of how it is. So each club would have its fleet, and we even made a bumper sticker that says it's the boat, it's the fleet. Well, I don't know if that you're talking about the world fleet, but we have fleets amongst our areas, and it's been a good model in a lot of ways. And we're like the Melges 24, for example, is like, you got to travel, and they're in our fleets. It's only a traveling event. It makes it more expensive, a little more cost prohibitive for a lot of people.
It's an interesting, sort of way you do it. Like I do got to admit, I do get a little frustrated because I come into Florida. I get to Tampa in early May, just after the whole season's finished off. So I miss out. I've got to come over there for my real work. So I miss out on all the sailing.
May's a terrible time to go to Tampa.
I agree with you, 100%. I'm not the smartest bloke. What about within that scene? You've got a lot of different boats as well. Like that. The whole Melges thing. There's a lot of stuff.
One design fleets, right? Which is something we don't see at all.
Much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, all these different boats you get to sail. Do you have a favourite?
Oh, do I have a favorite? That's a good question. I get that question a lot, actually. And, if I had to, and there's difference between the boat that you get to drive and the boat that you have to crew on, for example. If I could drive the Melges 24, it's a really nice boat. It has a nice feel. The guys hike hard, and it sucks to crew on, though. That's the only downside. So, if you have to do one or the other, you'd rather sail in Etchells over crewing on a Melges 24. But if you can drive the Melges 24, it's incredible. And that class has had a big resurgence. There's a Melges 20 that I sailed for years and years. That was fun. It was a different animal. It was hiking with the strap across your back. It was an interesting feel. It wasn't that comfortable, but it was fun. It's sporty. Planed really easy, like 12 to 14 knots up you go, planing along. And so Melges 15 is the new one that's really taken off. Yep. I don't know if you followed that. Is that hit the Park Karate?
They're actually built in Portugal, where I am, so that I'd see them coming out of the shed. They're a lovely little boat. There's a couple little spare ones there, Jay and Bicey. Might be able to find one.
Well,
find one for you.
Interesting.
We'll on the list,
it might have been Carl Smith I was talking to, and he was talking about the 15s. He was saying how they've gone off, and it's because it's sort of that husband-wife size, or father-kid, or daughter, mother-child sort of thing. It's that sort of size. It's appealing for family, and so. We've seen the fleets. They're quite large.
The new Hobie 16.
I thought it was a kids class.
One thing that we've had a lot of double-handed classes over the years between the Snipe and whatever other. There were Vanguard 15s for a while, but these double-handed classes have really sort of kind of died off. People seem to like the spinnaker of the Melges 15, a little sportier. But what I've seen over my lifetime is, when I was a child, there were a lot of big one design classes, between the Lightning and the Snipe and whatever other classes these were working class people that would spend their vacations and their extra money that they've saved up to go and travel to wherever the regattas were. And they would do that. And it was like a pilgrimage every summer. They'd go to the Nationals, and every winter they'd go to whatever midwinters event there was. And that seems to have kind of died down in favor of this sort of professionalism. What I've been able to take advantage of, where you got, what we call owners. We're now being owned by these people, and we are forced into this, work scenario where we're sailing whenever they want to go sailing. and they pay us accordingly. And I don't know, for me, it's not that bad of a transition. I can make a living doing it, but it's totally changed the sport. And a lot of people that, we used to sail and used to spend their vacation, they don't do it anymore. So that's become a little concerning, but this Melges 15 is sort of bringing that back out. Yeah, and so I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see that boat take off, and I'd like to do a couple of regattas, but
make sailing great again.
Make sailing great again. You got it.
New water coming in.
I'm interested. Before we want to talk Etchells, is definitely one of the things we want to get to, but we're talking, that US scene. And we're very interested as outside observers looking in. And it's good that something like that, as you say, the Melges 15 is bringing people back to the sport. Like, I agree that whole family experience and packing up the van, I mean, that's kind of the stage I've got to with my sailing now. Like, that's what I've got the van, and I've got, a crappy little boat that I can just go for.
You're missing the kid.
I've got a wife. I'm just trying to convince her to go for a sail. I'm interested whether with LA now, with the Olympics coming in a few years, or the next cycle of Olympics, there's going to be a lot more energy thrown into the US. How do you feel? Do you think that will have any positive aspect, or will it just go to the top end of the sport?
Well, that's a good question. I did a little bit of Olympic stuff in the laser, and it didn't really sit that well with me here in the U.S. It's such a self-funded program.
Yep.
That you basically have to have good family resources to do an Olympic campaign and have a successful Olympic program in the U.S. And everyone just gets so distracted with this pro sailing thing that we've got now. It doesn't really get me excited anymore. And you can see this in a lot of other people as well. The U.S. has struggled finding, the top players from the various areas to come and compete in the Olympic level. And will that change with things being in the U.S.? A little bit. I've heard from people that I was assuming were probably going to leave the Olympic arena, and they've all of a sudden said, "Hey, yeah, we're going to stay. The Olympics are in L.A., so this is our chance to be showcased at our home country." And then like, the class that I think that we're pretty good in, the lasers, we didn't even qualify to go to the Olympics last year in the last round in the laser. And I thought, wow, I kind of saw that after the fact, and I'm thinking, how in the world did that happen? There are a lot of spots in the laser to go to the Olympics, and we couldn't even qualify our own country, which that was a bit of disappointment. And there's, you talk to these people, they all have excuses as to, why things happen, but I don't know. We don't have the culture.
Yeah, it's difficult. I was talking to Helena Scott, and she was discussing. We were just literally last week. I was just having a chat to her, and I was saying, you're going to go around for the Olympics, because the difference when you're the host nation, you've got an entry in every event, so you don't have to qualify. You get a spot. So there's a lot more spots, and so do you do that? But then she's got the competition with the America's Cup, with her work in the America's Cup. So it is a quite a difficult decision. But the Olympics, like you were saying, Billy, before, when you were trying to go back to the Cup, if you didn't have the little gold medals, you're not going to, if you hadn't been in the team already, then, you've got to come with a bit of bling around your neck. So I can understand why people would do it.
Or do you think it's a matter of those four guys that should have been battling it out, or girls, to qualify for the lasers? They're having the best life sailing J70s.
Yeah.
Part of all the fleets, earning good money.
That's it. That's it. We touched on
as
this,
opposed to putting your laser on the top of the Ford Falcon and going to every regatta under the sun.
Right. You get distracted. You go sail the J70 and you're like, wow, this is okay. I come home with a few $1,000, and then you go sail laser and you're like, wow, that's different. Or whatever it is.
I just beat myself up for a weekend, went really slow and cost me $400.
Yeah. So the culture is a little different in the States, and we don't have, we don't have the 18 footers, and we don't have the foiling culture quite established yet, so it's just a little bit different. We sail The other thing that we have here in the States, which happened when I was a kid, we switched over to low performance and high school sailing. We went to FJs, the CFJs, Club Flying Juniors, and it just got really low tech. There's no more adjusting anything other than a main sheet, a jib sheet, and driving and roll tacking in like a 10-minute race or 9-minute race. And so these kids do this from the time they're young until they get out of university, and then they're expected to go sail 470s or whatever other boats are around.
Set the rake up.
And it's really difficult for these kids. They have to learn everything from scratch.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get discouraged when you're not very good at something.
Yeah. They're well behind the eight ball. I mean, a laser sailor doesn't learn any of that stuff either. They learn how to work hard and hike hard, but that whole element of understanding all the dynamics of rig and all that sort of stuff, which you need once you go onto different boats, it is interesting. But simplicity has its benefits at some stage, but you do have to expand. Bit of diversity training.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, what about the Etchells?
Bill?
Oh, go.
Now,
boss.
before, you've obviously had a very esteemed sailing career, and everything was leading to one point, and that one point is meeting BP at the Etchells.
That's the transition.
What an experience that was!
know.
Actually, it was at Jean-Claude's opening party. That's where we met.
Yeah.
So
Prawns
let's talk
and
about
oysters.
Melbourne a bit. I think we're basically alluding to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you once you met BP? Did you ask about going home?
Can I leave now?
No, I asked him what was the matter with his arm. Looked like he'd been shot.
It does. Yeah.
I guess you got that story about the yacht that rolled in the Southern Ocean. He tells that one all the time.
Heard about it. Yeah. Is that the one?
That's the one. Right, move on.
We just like he did it for Etchells so he could extend his arm even further.
Yeah.
Holding on to the spinning
Right.
sheets.
Yeah. So the Etchells class, there's it's the ultimate sort of one design fleet in many ways. The challenge of you've got a little bit of refinement and a bit of ability to work the boat out, but it is, once it comes down to it, the thing I think about when I look at Etchells is once you've earned a mistake, it's once you've put a mistake in on the course, once you've made that mistake, you have to bank it. You can't remove it anywhere, so your whole sailing day is about just banking the least number of mistakes is really what it's about. If you lose half a boat length because of a bad tack or a bad wave or something, you can't get it back somewhere else. You have to rely on other people losing, making mistakes. And so it's the ultimate sort of stress test in the way you sail a boat, like you're chasing perfection so hard. How do you find sailing Etchells? What's the love for you?
Oh, what's the love? I don't know. The thrill of the pain, I guess. It's got the right amount, like you said. It's got the right amount of technical, and the reality of the Etchells class, more than most of these other classes, is that you got this family of people. And if you've been to enough of the World Championships, you sort of see these same people again. And when I arrived at the World Championship now, it's like I know almost all the other players, and it's a reunion. And then, JC has her party and everybody goes, and it's like, wow, here we are again. Look at this. This is really what I look forward to in a lot of ways year after year. And the racing is, like you say, it's tough. And so we break it down into, basically we need to get off that starting line because
100%.
If you're punished right away off the starting line, man, that's a long day on your hands. It's just, you're going to be suffering. And so, we work out how to go fast, but going fast after you've done it for long enough is, have to be repeatable. And so we, without sounding boring about how to win a regatta, you need to have repeatability on your speed, and you need to get good starts, and then figure out how to go the right way, and that's the drill. But you go to these regattas. I see John Bertram. It's like we haven't missed a beat over however many years. I've only known him for like 15 years, but it's maybe not even that long. But it's good to see all these guys again. And that's the thing.
Yeah, got it.
And it is hard sometimes because I'll come home from these regattas and you guys have such a time change that my phone dings at 1 a.m. often. Getting messages from
Where are you, Bill? We're going out.
Yeah, Lammy's sending me messages at like 2 a.m. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, it's only 9 p.m. for him. He doesn't think about it, and it's 2 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this thing on phones we use called Do Not Disturb. It normally works in your phone.
No, I need to do that.
It has left me in hotels in the middle of the night when I'm supposed to be in a taxi. But anyway, but that whole element of sailing with the tunability, there's been a lot of change in the last few years in the way you set up an Etchell. When I sailed them a few times, they were pretty slack forestays, but now it's all about tightening that rig up. That forestay's got a lot tighter, and the way you sail the boat. What I've noticed is sort of you're running a lot more sheet tension on that main, and running sort of so you need a little flatter head in the main, and so it's becoming a lot more. It'd be a difficult boat to sail with that sort of setup. Just looking at it from the outside, you'd need ruthlessly accurate steering. That pursuit of speed, there's been a lot of change, I guess, is what I'm saying, in the way you set up an Etchell to go fast. Is that something you've noticed, or you just go, no, I keep setting the same way?
No, we've definitely changed. And, there's little details like you say, you have to have a flatter head to trim the main tie. Like that's what we're using, stiff battens in the head of the main now. And what else is going on? You say this like, okay, we do tighten the backstays more, get the sail flatter, trim the main tighter, get the head stay set up, and then all of a sudden it gets light.
Yep.
And these people that only know these one or two different setups, yep, they're going to really suffer when it gets light. You come to San Diego and try that stuff. Good luck.
I love the way you said
it's like side swell with chop and 8 knots. It's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. And
so you better have that soft head stay, move that in, now we move the lead outboard. You if you come from the 52s, you pull that thing all the way in all the time, and you just, get the jib sheet in. Well, you can't do that in the Etchell. You're going to have a soft head stay. You're going to have to twist the main. You're going to have to move the lead board outboard. You're going to have to make the thing, easier to sail, because the thing's just going through the water like it's a bucking bronco some days out there, and you got to make it forgiving because you're never going to be accurate. So you just try to find something that's in the middle, and so the Etchells has I don't know, at least 4 or 5 different setups you got to figure out.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of the thing. Once it gets windy enough, you can sort of trim them back tight and plow through the waves. But if it's light at all, whoo! And then there's downwind. Holy cow!
Yeah.
When the spinnaker collapses into the rig and you surf down a wave and the 8 knots with swell, you're like, okay, now what do you do?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to grit your teeth and go through it. It's hard. But that's what makes it fun.
Because where's the Worlds? Are they in San Diego next? Is that right? Where's the next World?
Next May. They're in San Diego, yeah.
Okay, so you're sort of warning everyone.
26.
It sounds like a warning.
It's a warning. I challenge you. Get your boat out here. Now, here's my plug. I have my boat here. It's ready for somebody to take on.
I know.
I've listed it on the Mighty Facebook as a charter available to see if anybody's interested. But
no, it's
a lot
gone.
of talk, no action so far.
It's been grabbed. It's been nabbed up. Bill, talk to you later.
David Dunn's been talking about it. He messaged me. But there are lots of boats available. So it's
a great part of the world where you live. So and as you say, sailing is quite unique down there. My memory is there lots of kelp on the course? Is that part of it as well?
There's a lot of kelp on the course, and I believe one of the reasons the Etchell is so popular here is because it doesn't catch the kelp.
Yeah, right.
If you're heeled over.
Yep.
If you have enough heel angle, you just go to right off the bottom. Downwind, if you're flat, and not so fast, it'll sometimes catch. I carried a kelp stick in my boat, I swear, for 15 years. I think I used it twice, and I finally said, okay, getting rid of this thing. And I carry a little piece of rope. And you can do like a floss.
Yeah.
If you really, but like by the time you know what you got kelp, it's like you're in last place by then anyways. You're like, what the hell just happened to me? And then, you just wait for the next stuff. But it's very rare. There's a lot of kelp. It's really cool. We were out there last weekend and there were flocks of birds, like thousands of birds in one flock eating whatever sort of surface fish there were. And lots of kelp and sea lions and dolphin and all sorts of stuff. We didn't see a whale last weekend, but it was like prime for it. Everything was happening, and then you got submarines and fighter jets, aircraft carriers. It's just an interesting place. Right. It's just the usual here, but it's like you see these aircraft carrier just came in. Actually, I'm sitting here in the bay.
Right. Crazy.
And so, yeah. Where the fighter jets go over and you have to like stop your communication. What's that? That's the sound of freedom, they say.
Freedom.
Fuck yeah.
America.
So with that, from your personal side, do you get heavily involved in all the sail making change, like pulling sails apart and all that technical stuff? Is that your style?
So back in the old days, I used to be a sailmaker in high school, and we used to make the sails on the pattern.
Yep.
And then the changes were all from, we'd go sailing and take pictures. Back then you had to little wind up camera, and you take your photo and you go get it developed, and you come back and you got this tiny little photograph with your magnifying glass and you're trying to figure out what to do to make it better.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I took crap pictures that day, so this isn't going to work. You have to go again. And anyways, we would take luff curves apart, broad seams, whatever, and we did it that way. And then we would slowly change it on the Mylar pattern on the floor. And I really loved sail making in that fashion. And then this plotter came in, and I was working here in the San Diego loft, the one that Lowell North started way back in the original days. And Vince Bruin was running the place, and this plotter came in, and it basically took my job.
Yeah, right.
I've just got this picture of you sitting there. Got this picture of you sitting there with your arms crossed, looking at putting really evil faces at the plotter.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like this. The robots are going to take over your job. Well, I saw it happen before my own eyes. No more numbers, no more corner patches, no more stuff. I became like assistant grommet puncher or somebody. Yeah. It's like they kept me around because I could sail.
Assistant grommet puncher.
Yeah, I could sail a little bit. So when they needed to go look at the Melges sails, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Hardesty will be here at 3 after school." So I'd ride my skateboard down to the sail loft, go sail with the guys, and then we'd come back and, "What'd you think?" I said, "Well, I didn't make my opinions." They're like, "You don't even know what you don't know," and then off we'd go.
Wow.
And so I did that a lot back in the old days, but now it's totally different. North Sails, for example, they all come from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So I do still get involved, and I say, you know what? I think we should make the bottom battens a little too hooked, so we got to straighten that out. Or I don't like that it's round forward, and I have to really ram forward to get the pre-bend, removed from the sail. So let's take some of that out, and I can just move the butt forward or whatever, compensate for it. Can we make a sail and have a look at it? They're like, oh yeah, that'll be 5 weeks from now. We can get this sail to you to take a look at. And I'm like, well, I mean, the excitement's gone. 5 weeks from now, I'm like thinking about the third iteration.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, and the sails are on the shelf. So, they build them and they stockpile them on the shelf, and then they go, well, I hate to tell you, but we're not changing it this year. It's going to have to be next year.
Wow.
Well, I want to win this year.
Yeah.
And so not like GT and Lamy and those guys. They were pulling luff curves off their main and changing things. I don't know what they were thinking, but I think they pulled the stitching and stuck it back in the same holes.
Oldest trick in the book.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there was a lot of that going on. There's no question. But on to Melbourne. You came down and you put the team together, and you got faster and faster all week. At one stage there, we were seeing a bit of it, but then you were gone. Is that sort of how you felt happened? Because you actually had more wins than anyone in the entire week, with 3 wins.
Right. Did we get faster as the week went on? And I didn't notice that per se. It did feel that way in the lighter stuff, but I felt like when the winds were lighter, we had an edge. And what we did do better though is starting. And it was our first time using the Vaccaro system.
Yep.
Vaccaros, how do we say it?
However you want. It's American. It's American.
Vaccaros.
I'm trying to speak your language, guys.
I appreciate it.
Coming slowly.
Yeah.
We just say Vaccaroso.
Vaccarosa, yeah. And so here we were, and we started to figure out, okay, if we're going 4 knots, we're going so many meters a second. And if we're this far away from the line, we need to go X amount. The delta between the time and the meters has to be this much to make it work. And it was like, this is crazy. And then we had this chart on the rail of the boat that had all the various speeds and all the distances that we'd sail per second at that speed. And it was like, you got to be kidding me here. We're going to tack on our final approach with 130, and we're going to look down at the chart to see how fast we need to go for this given distance. Like that's not how it works. And then you got to take into consideration that the Vaccaros didn't know if the boat was pointing head to wind or at 45 degrees. Right. So you just had no idea. It had no idea where you were. So that arc between head to wind and 45 degrees either side, it didn't know. So yeah. So the biggest difference that we made through the week was figuring out what time to tack and how far away from the line to be. And we started to get better at that. And then the next biggest thing was you do that tack, and now you're looking at the numbers. Okay, we had this 2-to-1 ratio, and we would sort of march towards the line with twice as many meters as there was time, and then they would slowly converge towards each other, but not quite as quickly as not totally converging. And then at like 30 seconds, we wanted to be, it was something like 60 meters or maybe even a little bit more at that point, so we could trim in and go. And then there'd be a boat in front of us. Be like, oh shit!
Forgot to look at boats. We've just been hooked, boys.
Right. Well, there were these other factors that if you're in an Etchells in particular, if you're back just a little on the group, and you carry your speed through, everybody at the last seconds early, and they all go up and slow, and you just punch through, and you're like, okay, see you later, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was what we got better at.
Yep.
And we were pretty fast, and then. When the breeze came up, it was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
GT and the guys, Andy Beadsworth, there were a few teams that were really special once the breeze came up. And we were a top 5 team, but it's like when the breeze came up, you had, from the laser days, I remember the same thing happening. When the breeze came up, the same guy would win almost all the races because they're just that tick faster. And then same thing happened. We were not quite as fast as GT in the breeze, but it came down to the last race. So we weren't suffering.
Certainly did.
What a last race.
What about the last race?
I was just saying, what a last race. I was just making.
Oh, what a last race! Yeah, I can't. I've blocked that out of my memory, so I hope you don't ask questions about it.
Well, I'll give you some background. Obviously, I think you've won 3 World Match Racing titles.
Yeah.
So, you know what you're doing when it comes to match racing. I remember having a chat to GT about a year ago, and he was talking to me about, the right technique for match racing. If you get to a situation, and, he was worried about his match racing skills. I'm interested in the philosophy you guys adopted in that last race with when, you just went out to the right. Was there much debate going on your boat at all?
Oh yeah, plenty of debate. No, so I can walk you through the last race. It was actually a pretty exciting one. There were a lot of things that were different than normal. I've never had these circumstances come up, but essentially, we knew that they were going to come after us. It was only a matter
just to paint a picture, Bill. Sorry, just to paint a picture for the listeners. You were even on points in the last race. The breeze was about 15 knots. It was good conditions, and off you go. So just to paint the picture, that's all.
Yeah. So a little bit more of the picture was tied on points. Whoever beats who wins the regatta. Mm-hmm. If we get 8th place in the race, then they keep their 7th place drop. So that gives them the win.
That's it.
we had a 16 as our drop at that point, so we had to stay in the top 7. And so they knew if they were to distract us enough, we wouldn't be able to get a top 7.
Yeah.
So that was their strategy.
Yeah, they could force you deep. They could take a bad number as long as you were with them.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then it didn't matter what happened. They'd keep their 7 and they'd beat us all day long.
Yep.
And so I said, okay, guys, we're going to hang out over here by the committee boat because when it does get weird, we're going to be sort of in the range of being able to get a start. So all we need to have is the ability to get a start. Off we go. And then we try for our top 7 and beat them, and off we go. And so, it's like 10 minutes. And now we have the time on the Vacaros device. So we know exactly how much time from 15 minutes down. And I'm like, okay, at about 6 minutes, we need to make sure we're in a good spot in the starting line. And, they start thinking about it, and they're probably going to engage at whatever, 4 minutes or, maybe later than that even, just about that last second kill. And then, we'll see what happens. Well, I didn't expect this, but at 9 minutes for 8 minutes, all of a sudden they're yelling starboard at us. Like they're going to crash into us and hole our boat or whatever. And I'm thinking, what the world's going on? We're like 5 minutes from being in the race sequence, the racing starts at 4.
You got coal rigs.
Starts at 4.
You're still having sandwiches.
I'm yelled at. I'm like head to wind with this other boat here. It's 9 minutes before the start. So anyways, I'm like, guys, we're not racing. And it really distracted us.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting tactic that worked out really well. And fortunately, we were in the correct zone of the starting box to not get totally screwed. If we had been down by that pin, it could have really blocked us out and we'd have a harder time.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a good chance to run our lay lines, get our time and distance, make our plan, which end of the line's favored, all these little details. We figured the boat was a little favored and we wanted to start up there, mostly because if they pin us out to the left, we're going to be in trouble. If we start at the boat, we're going to be fine. So now we're in this head to win, circle a few times, and then we fleet race, match racing is sort of unorthodox. It's not, there's all this other traffic in there. And so a couple of boats get between us and I was like, oh shit, now what are we going to do? And so we get clear of the other boats. And then basically at the last second, we're early to the line. And so we're like all head to wind. And then we get to start right at the committee boat. And there are 2 boats down from us with this one boat between us, like poor guy. Yeah. He's like, what did I put myself here for? Yeah. But so we both got off the line. Here comes the karate. And we come off the line. We tack, they tack to windward of us, even start. I'm like, all right, boys, this is it. Showtime. We got a high card.
Love it.
Go fast. If there was one time in this regatta we needed to go fast, this was the time. This is like for all the marbles. Right here, we're the lured boat on port coming off the committee boat. And we're going along. And trying hard to go as fast as we can. So I look over my shoulder at one point, and I swear I see the mark to the left. And I say, I think we're screwed here, guys. It's long starboard, and we're already on the right. We're like almost on ley line. We have a little debate on the boat, and they said, no, that's the race committee for that other fleet up there. I think the J24s were racing next Sandringham or someplace. That's the other fleet. There was a fleet of boats in the starting line for their boats, and there's the whole thing over there. And I'm like, okay, you sure? They said, yeah, ours is over here to the right. And we're looking at the channel markers out there on the right. And so I was like, I just went head down. I said, if that's where the mark is, it kind of wasn't my job all week to know where the mark was. So I kind of, we all have our moments with tasks at hand. And I do what I'm going to do as best I can and trust these guys to do what they can do. And if we all do the best we can, that's going to be good. And it didn't really. At the end of the day, I was embarrassed. Is all it really did. We were going to lose the race anyways, I think, because they went a little bit faster.
Yeah, they were faster. Yeah, I could see that.
When the wind was up 15, I even called it like 15, even 18. It was pretty windy.
Mm-hmm.
They had a slight edge, and so at one point we had a chance to tack at them, and they would have had to leave out, and then it would have turned into this big tacking duel. And our tacks weren't quite as good. We were quite good at starting, and we were pretty fast in the straight line. But if it came down to the jockeying the boat for the last little inch, we weren't the best. John Dane, the owner of the boat, has he started the Etchells in May. GT's been doing this for
absolutely
a decade plus. And so, yeah, John Dane sails the starboat, so he's not like he's like, oh, we're going to just start how to learn how to sail here. He sails tons. But then by the time I'm looking at, we get closer to these channel markers, and nobody went with us. No, not one, hardly not one boat tacked and went with us on the right. And so we're like out there. I think we were like 2 miles from the nearest boat at one point.
Yeah.
And I look over and I said, the mark is way over there to the left. We tacked over. We're at least a half a mile overstood. And that was when I was like, oh my God, this is embarrassing. Like, we're on live TV with this internet program, and I'm embarrassed. Like, we're supposed to be the best out here, and we're really not performing like that. In the last race, a must win. But like I say, it wouldn't have changed the result, and it would. And had we tacked earlier to head towards the mark, it would have just turned into a million tacks. We probably would have rounded 20th, and it would have been tough. But it would have been a different race.
Well, so it was as simple as not spotting the mark, kids. I think that's the interesting fact, because I was watching it, and I know your record and ability, and I know GT and Lammy and those boys and Mayo, their match racing skill, and I was really intrigued as to how it was playing out. And so, but you could see the speed difference. You could see there was a slight speed advantage. So
yeah, they were better in speed.
Yeah,
but you know what? It really boils down. They attacked us at 9 minutes, and we didn't get the chance. Otherwise, had they not been there and they would have attacked us at 4 minutes, we would have done our homework. Where's the mark? There's the mark. And then we would have done all this other stuff. They did a really
interesting,
nice job
really interesting
distracting
point
us.
that you make there. They knew what they had to do, and they went and did it, and they got in your head.
They went and did it with a good level of aggression, and it was like, man, I don't like when I have the better taken of me, but they really got the better of us that time.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're exactly right. The racing rules don't apply till the 4 minute gun, and so you're under coal regs then, and I'm really intrigued how that would all play out. So
I just kept yelling at him, "Don't put a hole in us! Don't put a hole in us!" That was like my I didn't have any other I didn't know what to say. Don't hit us.
It's really interesting. Really interesting.
But in the meantime, our whole boat's fully distracted, and I was like, wow. This is the way that it gets played, I guess. Well, it was that day. And these are my good friends from a long, long time. So it was, with all respect, these guys they're good sailors, and they earned it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, everyone has a tough, regattas are hard, only the winning boat actually ever really has a great time in the end. And, finishing second's often the worst position to finish. So, I get that feel and vibe. There's no point getting stressed about it. But
I don't know. I'll take it.
Yeah, no, second's amazing. That's the thing. But in the moment, not necessarily, isn't it?
I get it.
Yeah. But you've got the ultimate chance at revenge now because it comes to your home waters, and so you've got all those little tricks. And as you said, that whole rig setup and understanding. Spot on, like the way you've got to sail a boat. So, and you've got that speed advantage in the light stuff. But as, of course, when it happens to World Championships, it's never like this normally. So,
right.
You've got that element.
Wow. It'll be fun. It'll be fun here. I bought a bar in March that's just over the hill. So, we could go practice our karate at the Harp, which is a little Irish bar.
Well, that's kind of how we that's kind of how we hit it off, Bill. We sort of just started discussing that instead of discussing Etchells.
Bar karate corner. I like it.
I've got
karate corner at the party there, and then home turf. So it's going to be good. Let's keep promoting it.
I'm wearing my Royal Cork Yacht Club shirt with the Harp logo.
There you go.
Yeah, so world's oldest yacht club.
It is.
So that sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like it's insane that we wouldn't be there.
So what is?
It would be insane if you weren't here.
Bit of a no-brainer.
All three of you.
Put it on the list.
Well, I have thought about it, Bossy.
We actually would. We would make an Etchell crew. I'd never actually thought about that before. We're probably on the numbers because
you have to hike, Jay.
Oh, we're fucked.
Oh, no, don't worry about
that then.
No, awesome.
Mate, so we're sort of excited for you, like we appreciate you taking the time to chat, because obviously not winning can be painful, but, you've had this amazing career. Like, do you look back on it and just go, this is this is way better than I ever expected when, I was mucking around in my little Sabo?
Well, for sure. Some days I look back and I think, man, it'd be nice to be home more often.
Yeah.
Well, I have a 10-year-old son now, which is makes things a bit different. When I was, childless, it was the best for sure. Travel around. I wouldn't have seen half the world that I've seen had I not been pro sailing.
Yeah.
So it's hard, the pathway forward, the question that's a little bit of a leading question, I'd say, where I also discourage people that aren't quite at the level to be a pro sailor. I discourage them from trying to be a low-level pro sailor because you don't work for however many years, you're not making very much money, and then all of a sudden, like, life's hard.
Yep.
You're only making, 20% of what you should make.
Yep.
And you don't have work experience. And so that I see a lot of here in the States where, a guy, and then next thing you know, he's like a boat delivery guy because that was his fallback and he really wants to be a pro sailor.
Yep.
And I go, but you studied chemical engineering or something, really hard. Like you should have done that.
Literally missing the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Literally missing the boat.
Yeah, literally missing the boat. Right. And then, then there are other people that are like, really world class and they decide just not to be pro sailors. So to each their own.
Oh, that's absolutely.
I've had a great run and I really love it. And, I don't regret it. That's for sure.
One thing that's interesting, you talk about your 10-year-old son now, the thing that at the start of the interview that got to me was that relationship with your dad, that going on the adventures in the camper and, without that experience with your dad, you probably wouldn't have ended up where you are. And famously, when you won the Rolex US Sailor of the Year, you gave the Rolex to your dad, is my memory of that situation, So
yeah,
obviously that relationship's important and you're going through that, you've got that opportunity with your own son now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
It's been fun.
Awesome.
Jordan did tell you he did a lot of research, didn't he, Bill?
He did a lot of what? Research. He
does a lot of research.
He's a good researcher. He's the team researcher.
Yeah, he's the office.
The
research
He's
office.
the back office. The office. Front
Good
office.
job, Jordan.
Mate, I think what we'd probably like to do, because I feel like we haven't touched on everything, but I think we've sort of run out of time now, but open invite to come back, if you want to talk about something else, we've got plenty we could continue the chat with, mate. But hopefully...
Well, as we lead into the Worlds next year, there's a little option there. We'll talk about that, eh?
For sure. I'm around. Just send me the 12 different Zoom invites and I'll figure which one to use.
We might be on Teams by then.
Yeah, right.
Just can you just for the and when you are talking about when you're talking to the race or event organisers, just warn them if Barcarati team come with a boat, you're going to have to, there's going to have to be compensation allowed because it might get a bit loose. If we turn up on an Etchell, it could be pretty loose. We could be calling starboard on you with a day ahead of the
day ahead.
Yeah. I like the idea. I like it when the regattas have a press conference in the evening and they have little, roundtable sort of discussions. I think that's healthy for the class.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on, boys.
All right, mate. Well,
awesome work.
Thanks for our chat.
Thanks, Bill.
No, thank you guys. Good catching up.
Met Bill at the JC party before the regatta started. And got to admit, it really just turned into discussion about his bar.
That was it.
The Harp Bar, which we're going to be promoting heavily from now on.
Did you just say discussion? You might need to emphasise a little bit more the letters in that. Talked about his bar and then his half a bar.
It was a fantastic evening, and it was just good to see all these people together in this one room. It's pretty amazing when you go to these events, and Bryce, you get a lot more than us. But these names that you just know and hear of, and all of a sudden, they're there and we're having a chat. It was good, and they sailed well. They did awesome.
Mate, I'll tell you, out of all that conversation, the thing that got me so excited was the fact that he's got his own bar in San Diego called the Harp Bar, so we'll give him a full-on plug. Like, as a yachty owning a bar, do you think that's like a good thing? Like, is that a good way to make money, or is that just all your mates are going to come and drink free grog and you're going to go broke?
Well, put it
there's
this way.
two ways of looking at this, isn't there, Bicey?
I've been known to frequent the Yayak Bar in Newport, Rhode Island, a couple of times, owned by, part owner by a good mate of ours, Mick Harvey. Tell you what, you're not getting any free piss, for one. 2, he knows his clientele.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't have to worry about it too much. It's all right.
So
Bicey,
as far as
you'll be in the corner by the end of the night. It's all right.
you probably won't be funding your next America's Cup campaign with it.
No.
And it's probably not the healthiest career path. But in saying that, gets a bit of a social going on.
I'll tell you what, San Diego Worlds coming up. You tell me which bar's going to be busy.
Damn right. Well, I mean...
Well, there you go, Bill. We plugged the bar for you.
Yeah, absolutely. My next trip to the US, I'm going to make sure my stopover's in San Diego and go down and have a beer at the Harp Bar. I'm going to be... That's my whole focus now. So, good on him. And appreciate the chat. We also, BP, you were busy after the regatta. You considering put bar karate right to the front, and you've managed to have a chat to a couple of the people that won the World Championship. So we've got James Mayo and Ben Lamb have a bit of a chat to us.
Yeah, just managed to get them in amongst all of the excitement. Absolutely.
Well, here they are now.
Alrighty, so we're just off the water, and I've competed in the 2025 World Champion Etchells in Melbourne, and I'm standing here with a pretty happy damn winner, James Mayo. Hey, what do you reckon? Back to back.
Yeah, pretty emotional.
Yeah,
terribly emotional.
Let it rip.
We finished off a incredible program with Ian Murray and Richie Allenson, and 2 of our wonderful, dearest friends who were there right with us. And then we had a new crew join us as Richie went on to other adventures. And Benny Lamb, we knew that we had to raise the bar. And
they were going to come at you.
And he certainly raised the bar. And I can tell you that that race is one of the hardest fought races I've ever done.
So we're talking about the last race. It came down to the last race of the day. I'm not sure how many points there was between them going into the last race. I knew it was all on because it was a bit of a dogfight in the first race of the day, and I didn't see them all race, so I figured that you're out the back playing the games.
There was 2 of us. It was a full-on match race from 6 minutes, and at 2 minutes, 3 minutes to go, we're both head to wind and controlling trying to control each other. And then I'm calling out 1:30 to go, and then we're both at the boat end, and there was nothing in it. And we were at one point, there was main off. We're yelling at each other. Ben's screaming like, ease it, and GT's like, pull it on. And because they tried to hook us, and we kept clear of that, and then they went above us. And we always wanted to be under them, and then we were under them, and then straight after the start, we both got an incredibly good start. And then he tacked, we tacked, and then it was inches by inches going out to the right. The whole fleet went left, and it went light. They went quicker. When it got heavier, we punched forward a bit, and then we thought we just got to try and sail them off the course here. And we went as far right as we could, and at one point, if we'd both tacked, we would have crossed the fleet. So I don't know, mate.
The gold charm, I guess. Anyway, listen, I'm going to let you get back to it. Here comes Will Ryan to give him a bit of an embrace. Pretty good moments here. Obviously, congratulations to first, second, and third. We're going to have a great night here. And James Mayo, well done. Thanks so much, mate.
Thank you so much, Brett. Yeah, mate, pleasure.
So we've just spoken to James, and the new crew member we were talking about is actually one Ben Lamb, another bar karatian. So he had triple reverse curse on the boat. But anyway, just jokes. No, they sailed an absolute supreme regatta. They've actually sailed a supreme year. Benny, world champion, second time.
Yeah, thank you. We had a great day, great regatta, really. We were never really up the front at the top mark each time, but we just managed to grind away and find a way to keep all our races in check and inside the top 10. And even we weren't going well in the first race today, and Billy and John Dane and Eric were launched, and we just kept grinding and getting back to a fifth, which then opened the door for us to match race them in the last race. And they're very, Bill Hardesty is as good as as ever got in match racing, and so we had our work cut out, but we sort of got the better of them, and then we were just able to sail them back in the fleet, and we didn't take the foot off the throat. For 5 legs, we would sail on top of them. So.
Oh, well, listen, I know it's a pretty cool time to let you get back to it, and it was a tough regatta for everyone that was here, and man, world champion, second time. Awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude. I'm going to let myself have a beer now. I haven't had a beer in forever.
There's none left in the esky.
Oh, no, that's all right. That's fine.
All right, mate, cheers.
Thank you.
I've got to say, the emotion from James was pretty special. Lammy was relieved. Lammy put a lot of work into this, and was, as I said once before, was the most focused I've ever seen him. But
mate, if Lammy didn't win this Worlds, he should quit yachting. I tell you, we've had him on the show before. We all know him very well. He's one of the best, call it big fleet managers. I would suggest.
Just unbelievable. Yeah.
And like I said, if he didn't win, you might as well quit yachting, Lammy.
So just
that's joking. Well done, boys.
Yeah. So just touching on that emotion, the raw emotion carried on from that. That was basically straight off the water. So it had just happened. So James was, he was still shaking. He was, he was very. It was a concern of his going back to back. He actually spoke to a few people about it during the week. How do you handle it to the guys that had done it before? And it was a big relief for them, and that carried on the whole night through the ceremonies. And first, second, third, and all the place getters. It was an awesome week, and it was good sailing.
Yeah. Very cool. And you bounced out of it fresh as a daisy, BP, with
your
Radix Nutrition, mate. That made you.
Oh, well, that was the only reason.
It was the only reason. Yeah, those boys on the Radix. So tell us, you were using it for breakfast, mate.
Oh, just breakfast every day, because I'd have to get down the boat early and jump in the water, and I needed that little bit of a spring in my step to get in the water in Melbourne and hang out with the sharks and give the boat a clean.
Yeah, that's some serious commitment. But obviously it's a good way to get you underway for the day, and obviously stay healthy and fit. It's nutrition for everybody. So whether it's your fitness goals or conquering a new challenge, which is like jumping
or Etchells Worlds.
Yeah, Etchells Worlds, Melbourne Water. If you go to Radix Nutrition and just use the discount code BARKARATE and get a discount on us, and sail better. That's the simple solution.
Yep.
Right. This is going to be a big episode, lads.
Jesus. We've been crapping on for half an hour. Well, big interview. Big intro. And I've got a list.
A mile long.
As long as my Etchells arms.
Yeah. I just unrolled my scroll and it hit the ground.
Yeah.
Righto. Sure.
Right, so many events. Festival of Sails is underway as we record, so it'll still be going. That is down in Victoria as well, in Geelong. It is a major. It's a good event to go to. There's plenty going on there. Do we want to talk about that, or should we leave that till next week?
I think leave it till next week, because we've got so much going on at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll have some results as well, right?
Yeah. Coming up, Heaven Can Wait. I think that's probably a really important one that people should be aware of. So that kicks off, it's on the weekend of February 13 through 16. It's a sailing charity regatta. It's on Lake Macquarie, and all sorts of different events going on. But if you feel like raising money and trying to do your bit to prevent cancer and go for a sail, that's the one. So if you just Google Heaven Can Wait, it's their 19th edition. Just wanted to let people know that was happening and make sure that people do jump on board and participate. Another thing that's kicking off is that the Finn class have got a series of webinars with Nick Heine. Have you seen this, boys?
Yeah, I saw it last night, actually.
Yeah.
So I thought, what a awesome thing to be doing.
It's a
very
great
proactive, the Finns.
Sharing the love.
It is quite a good one because Nick's been a busy little boy. He got married a couple of weeks ago with his beautiful partner, Molly Meach. She and I were spending quite a bit of time together, so don't get too jealous, Nick. But, she was showing me all the photos, mate, and congratulations because you look, the pair of you looked amazing and really happy for you, both of you. But yeah, so Nick's taken time out from spoiling his wife to do these. So they're going to be online. I just Google Finn and webinars of Nick Heine. The first one's the 3rd of February. The next one's the 10th of March. The moderator is going to be a quiet, shy bloke by the name of Roy Heine. They'll be about an hour and a half long. So definitely something worth jumping onto. The other thing we probably need to mention, of course, is the Finn Nationals in Australia have just been and won by young Anthony Nossiter.
Anthony Nossiter. Son, you've done it.
He's
done it again.
Comeback of the knock.
How many would he have under his belt now?
Well,
he just walked out of the Scando Euro, whatever it was, a while back, knocked that one on the head.
Under his tropical flavoured budgie smugglers.
Came on down and just dominated in the fantastic.
Great to see.
Word has it, like he's a bit of a hard man, old knocker, and we love it. We definitely getting him on the show. Word has it, we've spoken about the Sharks and stuff in Adelaide before. At one of the top marks, there was an old little man in a grey suit just hanging out. Knocker jumped out the fin, gave it the good old Ben Ainslie punch in the nose of the media man, back in the fin, race downwind to win the race.
Still won the race. Yeah. With half an arm.
You idiots.
Good on you, son.
Yeah, son.
Oh, dear. Right. Well, now, what else was there? There's plenty going on. The Bay of Islands race week has been on as well. BP, you been across that or Bicey?
I was watching a little bit of it. I had obviously some vested interest in it. I haven't seen the actual final results today or yesterday. As we record, but always a fantastic week of sailing up there in the
they got a heap of
beautiful
classes.
area.
They've got the young 88 classes. They've got
7 young 88s, mind you.
Sports boats, the flying 15s. Then they've got a whole bunch of different divisions. They've got non-spinnaker divisions as well, but serious racing. I guess Open Div A is the main one, wasn't it? That's where all the
it's the bigger boat. You sort of racing style boats. They've got a couple of Melges 40s down there, TB52s. So there's a bit on.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. Actually, they're still not racing. I think the racing's done.
Yep, done and dusted.
But that it should actually expand over the Australia Day weekend.
Absolutely, it should.
As it does turn out, it is Waitangi Day, I believe, Monday. So it is a public holiday in New Zealand. But it's good that the Kiwis do recognise Australia Day. It's great.
But yeah, it's probably, rather than just read results, it's been on and dusted. So if you're interested, it is the sort of premier big boat regatta in New Zealand up there. Great spot, beautiful part of the world, Bay of Islands.
Wonderful part of the world.
If you want to head on up and check that out, or if you maybe get involved with that one as well. F18 Nationals are on. So Brett Burville and Max Putman using their Baccarati reverse curse and leading the way on that one. When do you head to the Caribbean by? Speaking of regattas coming up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm cool, man. Anyone seen my Walkman, man? I'm cool, man.
When mid-Feb, heading over straight into the Nelson Cup out of Antigua. Then rolling into the RORC, the 600, Caribbean 600. And then a few more regattas after that on various boats around the place. So it's quite the tour coming up.
It is.
I'm not sure. Yeah. It's almost going to be 6 weeks. Yeah, probably not. It's not ideal, let's say, but it's
No,
a
it's
bloody
tough.
and it's a pain in the ass to get to and from being in it, back to Oz or NZ for that matter. So, yeah, just gonna have to tough it out, I'm afraid.
Oh dear, you idiot. Oh well, so you're off on for that. So righto. Well, let's move on. And if you're a Wally person listening about windsurfers, we'll chat about you guys in a minute. The Jack Lloyd listener of the week. There's plenty to discuss here, boys. Our friends at Vaikobi support this by putting a $200 voucher.
What a perfect opportunity, though.
$200 Aussie voucher. So for the listener of the month, so you write in, communicate however you want, and every month we choose the best, and you get a 200 Aussie voucher for all your Vaikobi gear. That includes all the technical sailing gear, includes the UV stuff, anything you want, like Vaikobi.
Vaikobi UV.
Yeah, well, here you go, BP. Here you go. I'm going to make an announcement. This month,
Whoa.
it's going to be $200 voucher plus.
Wait, don't go.
Automatic Barkarati
steak knives.
UV hoodie
Whoa.
as
Stop
well.
it.
You don't even have to buy one. You're going to get. So if you're not writing in now and coming up with something interesting for us, you just
Start tapping.
Yeah, it's time. But anyway, so Vaikobi have stepped up. We've mentioned it before on the show when we had a bit of a chat to Pat about the material. Like they've got the materials on the Vaikobi stuff. I don't know where they get it from. I think they steal it from heaven. It is the most comfortable material I've ever worn. My wife is forever stealing my shirt and just rolling around in it.
Word has it, BP.
Right.
I just saw his eyes go, "Here we go."
It's produced from the sacks of virgin butterflies
Oh,
from the Amazon.
the ones that live for one day?
From the Amazon.
Oh.
And I mean, Jordan, I know you said your wife steals your t-shirt, but she really steals your undies. 'Cause I know you got a special order made.
The white Y fronts.
But I got to say, the hoodies. Let's talk about the hoodies before we go into the emails. So there's a couple of different colours there. It's got the Barkarati on the arm, the right arm.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're doing other work with your right arm,
Well, that's specifically so that when you are doing bar karate at the bar, you know, everyone knows what you're doing.
oh, BP, you're
See?
across it.
Yeah.
It's an
I know.
explainer.
It's an explainer, yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest. Like the hoodie with the cap walking around the boat park, it's about the most popular look in the world at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you know, you've got.
Well, you just got to get out of the sun, you know, like it's just it's brutal.
So you're going to be comfortable, you're going to be out of the sun, and you're going to look cool. And here's the news: like because we've partnered up with Vaikobi on this now, they're just going to. It'll just be forever stock. So if you want them, go for it. If all you have to do is go to Lifestyle and Merch, or just search Bar Karate. So if you go onto Vaikobi, look at Lifestyle Merch, and you'll see Bar Karate under Event Merch, or just search for Bar Karate, and it'll take you straight to the page. I know that this afternoon I'll be ordering a few of these for all our friends out there. Jump on board. We have to buy them as well, but that's the way it works because we're egalitarian in Bar Karate. But yeah, so cool.
Yep,
They're there.
Yeah. Good.
So get those mails in and get involved. This one's a good one.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
You won't no
Ball
regrets.
tightener.
Zero
Another ball
regrets.
tightener. Geez, he's a ball tightening episode, this one.
First email, Andrew Stanley. Loving the podcast as usual. Currently in transit to the Windsurfer Nationals, so this has been on our mail for a few weeks. At Toronto, Lake Macquarie. He's from Tumby Bay in South Australia.
Yes.
Oh,
yep.
Tumby.
Yeah.
Do the old bump into Andrew every now and then on the trip, the annual migration back for the Adelaide Lincoln.
Yep. He stopped at Lake Jindabyne for a few days of altitude training, tested out the Bar Karate hoodie and the Vaikobi down vest in 40 to 50 knots and less than 5 degrees Celsius at the top of Mount Kosciuszko. can say they perform well with the sub-zero wind chill factor. See attached, short video. Good on you, Stan. Like that hoodie, the old Barkarati hoodie, the one that we've done.
The winter hoodie.
The winter hoodie, she is warm.
The one that we've known to come and love, yes.
Absolutely love. She is warm. And again, very comfortable material. Why have we got a special magic pathway to material?
Well, it's the butterflies.
We have seriously.
What's the hoodie made out of, Bossy?
Oh no, that's for the other episode.
That's the secret. I heard it was unicorn skin, something like that.
Oh dear, we've gone off on extremes. Speaking of going off on extremes, your mate BP, I'm going to call him your mate now because he's just gone weird.
I know where you're going with this one.
Yeah, go on. Do you want to do it? Or
well, no, you do it because I'm just. It's something that it does actually relate to you. So,
okay. So this is Mark Disney. He's based in the UK. BP has been known to stay at his place. Hey, fellas, and he's been known to dress up in some funny outfits. There's things happening in Disney's head. I've listened to
say the least.
I listened to the recent podcast, and Jordan mentioned pineapples. You need to make an editorial note for the listeners. Yes, pineapples are historically associated with swinging. Again, I had no idea. But upside-down pineapples are logos used by couples struggling with fertility and bearing children. Oh, I didn't know that. So there's so much going on with pineapples. I only know this because a friend of mine has an upside-down pineapple on her ankle.
How does he know it's upside down?
Well, the irony is that when her legs are up in the air, the pineapple is the right way up. So, inspired by the thought of fertility and the memory of how to lose a guy in 10 days, I looked up what would your baby look like, and Google treated to many free websites. So I loaded a picture of Nick and the J-Dog. Nick is the dad and me as the mum. And AI has come up with our baby. It's... had the option of adding preferred features, and he went with big head. With time and money, I could have endless fun with this. The AI kid has got a fair size forehead, and she's definitely inherited Jay's ears. So anyway, we've got a picture of a baby that apparently is what would be the
love child of yourself and myself.
It's
Jordan.
not good. It's not good. I don't know how you feel about it, Bryce, but do you think?
Well, you know, must be a handsome little devil. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's interesting. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
So this should mean you should stop putting your pineapple upside down in your shopping cart when you and your missus are walking around the shopping centre, Jordan.
This is all new for me, but no, I can't have pineapple. Unfortunately, it's my favourite thing, but I'm not allowed to eat it. So, that's a strange one, isn't it? That is a strange one. But anyway, Disney, Anya. Yeah,
just the fun you can have. That's all.
And another one we got was from Mike Holland. G'day in Canberra, working for a bit, escaping the northern winter. How do you escape? Oh, he's down from the he's northern hemisphere winter. Yeah, right. And came across this. So he's in Canberra because Canberra is traditionally cold if you're not part of Australia. But that makes sense now. Came across this sorry state of affairs while on a stroll. It's basically a beat up piece of. It's an abandoned rainbow, isn't it?
It's beyond a pot plant.
Definitely not a pot of gold, but although it looks bad, if someone wants a project, I reckon she could be recovered. Still has original wooden mast, boom, they look straight, and I'm sure you could pick it up for free. Anyone is remotely interested, contact me, and I can make more detailed pics. So
it's this part that's the key to this whole email.
Michael Holland, Holly, nickname Holly, Chairman Norwegian Rainbow Association.
Yes, we've gone global. My mission is complete, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm done. Signed off. Price out.
Oh, how good is that? How good is that?
Oh, that's wonderful.
Speaking of the rainbow, for those fans out there, check out the Making Waves Foundation. They've got the raffle of the rainbow. Must be getting close to tickets being either sold out or the raffle being drawn. So check it out. The brand new rainbow sitting in driveway. Couldn't be prouder, could you? Hey?
No.
Can you there's so many uses for a rainbow. You could use it like as a wheel ramp to get your proper boat onto your trailer?
Well, that's true. Yeah, and this one in particular could definitely be a disabled ramp to get a wheelchair up the flight of stairs.
You know, like a traditional boat, if you had to double deck a boat, right? Your traditional boat trailer, double decker, you're going to reasonably high. In what you would have as a double decker trailer for traditional normal boats, like normal human sail,
or 70 or something,
rainbows, you could have 8 rainbows in that same vertical.
The standard double decker kind of might fit under the barrier at Macca's.
Yeah.
Here, mate, you can fit 3 under the axle.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, dear. Anyway, yeah, the resurgence of the rainbow, it's down to
Bring
Bice.
back the rainbow.
Bring it back. Bice, you've done so much. You've got power.
Oh,
anyway, speaking of power.
It's hot time with Bice.
Does bring a smile every time. And we're probably going to say that every
It does.
every
I
episode.
literally just like the way he says Bice. And every Swedish person in the world's gone, I've got to go to the toilet.
Probably about time we get Harrison back on at some point, the 4th leg. Just have a little catch up on all things Australian yachting.
Given he just won the Nationals and the Sharpies.
Correct. Yes, well done, Harry and team. Where do we start? Maybe the RORC Transatlantic.
Oh,
plenty going on in the great oceans.
How good is that?
At this
Lucky,
time of year.
Hey?
The RORC Transatlantic, Lucky takes it out with a record win.
Wow.
Beating Comanche's time.
Wow.
Looked like a beautiful slide across the Southern Atlantic. So congratulations to them with their
what was the
new
words I had?
Future Fibre 06 rigging. Just done beautifully.
They had VMG downwind sailing the whole way. 8 days.
It's just insane.
Yeah. Be an awesome boat to compete in. And then followed closely by a good mate, Johnny Mordaunt and his team on the Shoes, which is the ex-Group MR, Volvo 70. They had a beautiful, and I mean a very well put together team, very well put together campaign. That boat obviously has had a quite historically won a lot of races since the Volvo, under the banner of Wizard. And they continue to keep that tradition going. So they take it out on IRC by not quite a day, but pretty close to it. So well done to them. And then we've got a slow spattering of the rest of the classes, the boats coming in now, with a few boats still left at sea. But
if I was
looked like the ultimate transatlantic compared to, I think 2 years ago, it was a shocker.
Yeah. But I mean, if you were going to be bringing a boat from Europe back to Oz, you'd enter, wouldn't you? It'd be, it's part of
Oh, 100%.
So much fun, just racing across.
Is that something that's popped up, John?
I wish. That's why I keep working. I'll work till I'm dead, and then my kids, my nephews will inherit everything and do the adventure rather than me.
There you go. Something else kind of in the same region, the Mini Globe currently taking place. The Mini Globe race, just hopping across. We've probably got a good 8 or 9 weeks to keep reporting on that one till they arrive.
I must admit, I've gone and looked a bit of video of them. I mean, geez, they're slow. They are so slow.
But there's quite the cluster of the Mini Globe boats just heading across now.
Yeah, it's like a little pack. It's like a little Monty Python skit.
Yeah. Wow.
Little flag.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that.
All right, boys. Vendee. Something that's kind of taken our fancy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, and don't we get
given we haven't recorded in 2 weeks, quite a bit's gone down.
Yeah.
Pretty much. As we know, Charlie took it out in 64 days, beating Yom Rashom by probably almost a day, a bit over a day maybe.
Just under.
Not a bad effort.
Just under, sorry.
Yeah.
And then Seb Simon coming in third in 67 days. So, and then since then, I think we awoke this morning to see that Sam Goodchild has just finished.
Yeah.
So he had that repair to do on his main.
Poor bugger. Like he was
suck it up the
doing
Portuguese
so
coast.
good.
And but with Justine Matru coming in 8th over the line.
Huge effort.
Juju. She has smashed the female record.
Yep.
Absolutely smashed it. Took it away from Clarice, who's currently in 11th with 420 miles to go. But being good, guys.
It has. It's been amazing.
What I've loved about
starters, we're only with only 6 retirees.
Yeah, that's what was my point. My point was going to be, with 40 starters, you'd be expecting a lot more retirements, but it's been great and a successful race, race for the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So with Sam's issues, like remember when they split the main, he was in a match race for 4th basically. With Jeremy Bayou, the Shirelle. And then, he sort of dropped right back to 9th with all the issues. And Sam's obviously a Brit. But Justine, or Juju, is Swiss, so she's the first non-French person to finish in 8th. So the French dominating. So the fishing boats didn't have to do much.
They do.
Fishing boats, stand down, fishing boats, all clear.
Stand down. So, but yeah, great event. I mean...
You got a feel for Sam, don't you?
Massive.
Had a cracking start, and then obviously across the bottom had to put up with the fact that, these faster boats were going to put those few miles here and there on him, and then just kept plugging away. And then once he turned the corner, he got right back into it, and then bang.
Very cool.
Bravo.
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely hats off. Hats off to them all.
Still got quite a list here, boys. I'm going to save SailGP till the end, Jordan.
Okay, yep.
For a bit of commentary.
Yep.
And one thing we didn't mention previously was the Millennium Cup coming up in NZ.
Yep.
This next weekend.
Yep.
So I will be reporting live.
Live.
On the dock.
Something else that popped up via the socials this week, we see a collaboration between American Magic and the Swan class. Which I think this is just an excerpt from the press release. The joint venture will start with the Club Swan 28 project. So does that mean there's going to be more coming up? Which includes the creation of a new regatta series and the development of a fleet of Club Swan 28 boats. These boats will debut in a series of regattas planned for late 2025 to be held in Pensacola and across the East Coast. The venture's immediate goal is to establish a competitive platform that expands the presence of Nautic Swan yachts in the US while supporting American Magic's ongoing mission to grow the sport and the marine industry in the region.
Yeah.
So basically it's the intro of the Swan 28s into the US.
Yep.
The American Magic going to run a shared service type setup.
Yep.
To look after all the boats. And Doug DeVos is the man. Well, he just fucking loves it.
I heard they're going to have 10 boats.
To it, gets heaps of people involved. You cannot take anything away from that.
No, absolutely not.
So they're going to. I've heard that there'll be 10 boats in that little program that they're going to start off with initially. So that's amazing, and they look cool. We'll come back to that, but they're 1K design things. Not everything in Swans are 1K these days, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, under that club type banner.
Yep.
What else we got? Boat Dusseldorf has been going on. There's been some pretty cool stuff. Quite a lot of videos from all our mates in the industry about different things. There's some good products out there, beautiful. X Boats launching a new racing boat, the XR41, I think it is, which looks awesome. Racer Cruiser, rather. So
ORCI Class B, I think they're looking at.
Yep. So Boot, the reason we talk about Boot, it's the largest indoor boat show in the world, basically. So it's all under these huge, there's, I don't know how many, I think it's like 20 huge, what's the word?
Halls.
Sheds. Halls. There we go. Halls. Forgot about that. But yeah, so a lot of boats get premiered at the event. Saw there's some really cool stuff. So with the new Dragonfly 36, that looks pretty interesting. That Largo 26 Speedster, that looks a bit of fun. There's so many boats getting premiered. The Swan 28 and the XR 41, as you said. The other one that came out is that new Grand Salil Blue, which is a little 30-footer recycled, everything fully recyclable, electric power on it. There's obviously the new Beneteau 30 BP. I don't know what you got any thoughts on that. It doesn't sort of compete with you, but their new first 30 is there. So there's a heap of new boats. So it's quite an interesting show. It's certainly one
probably
we should...
one of those shows that's remains a bit of a stalwart in the sense of it's the beginning of the season. A lot of other shows around the world have, gone up and down in popularity, but this is almost seems as though it remains. I could be completely wrong with that, but
no, it's definitely a major attraction on the. On the list of boat shows.
What's the other one? The next big one, I guess, is it Cannes? Would that be the next big one? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there's heaps of them.
Several.
But yeah, if you're looking to buy a boat, the dealers would love you to turn up. Apparently, there is a little bit of a stockpile building up. That's all I'll say. So if you're looking to buy boats, it's a good time. Not that
Been researching, Jordan.
Yeah. I wish.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Speaking
this
of
is you, mate,
boat dealers,
Jordan Spencer. I've got to say, I spent quite a bit of time on the couch last week watching this particular series of races. Of course, talking about Auckland SailGP. I've spoken to many people who were there. Could Auckland SailGP, with the combination of the weather, the live viewing platform for the grandstand, be
huge,
the best stadium type sailing yachting has seen?
Yep, easy, 100%. It's so cool. It was so
phenomenal.
Good. It was so good, wasn't it?
Stand up and be proud, Auckland.
Oh, it's so much fun.
High fives all round.
Here's the challenge. Let's just lay it out there. Because we've got a lot of listeners in Australia. We've got a lot of listeners around the rest of the world, but I get to go to these events, and going to New Zealand to do this, being an Aussie, is just so much fun. It is the best. The Kiwi, the Kiwi crowd, they're flocking in from about 4 or 5 hours before. They're doing, to load up those stands. The Kiwi crowd, the ones I take around and give them the behind the scenes tour with, they're into it, if they don't know how to sail, they're still into it. Like, it's in the paper, it's on the front page of everything.
Did you see the little barge?
Which one?
The barge.
No, yeah, did you see the little barge? 5 or 6 kids, they put together a little table.
Oh, yeah,
table.
the down picnic table? Yeah. Oh, it's insane. It's insane. And, everyone sort of fired up. The conditions were amazing. We've got the change with the high wind foils. Teams trying to bed themselves in. There's definitely those high wind foils are vicious looking things. They're a bit scary, but I had a good chat to quite a few of the sailors about what they think about the things. With the old foils, they're saying that they let go by giving you a big slide and then you crash off, right? They're saying that with these new foils, no
warning.
There's no warning. You just go crash. They don't slide. Or sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but predominantly they don't slide. The cord thickness on them is like half the cord thickness. Like, it's amazing the difference in shape. They've got a longer cord length, but they accelerate and slow down a lot quicker. So they're really finding quite a bit of difference in how you get to sail these boats. And so you'll see them doing a lot of wheelies because, the flight control is way harder. My prediction going in to the event, people were saying who's going to win. I said it was going to be, it's all about teamwork, and the teamwork element would shine through, and the best flight controllers were going to come to the fore in the best teams. And that's basically who ended up in the final. But with the wind, like we saw some great sailing. It was just so cool.
It was awesome.
It was just, and some of the touchdowns and how nervous they were because they just weren't in mastery of those foils yet. There was one thing, I'm not sure if it was on the screen, but I'm trying to remember which race it was, but the Brazilian team, they came around that bottom mark. The wall that was near that bottom mark and the finish
coming quick.
She's very close. And so you got to do your turn up pretty well. And the Brazilian team didn't turn up, and they just kept coming at the wall. And I was like, "Oh, here we go. We're about to trash a whole boat."
See our first into the wall.
It got so close. It got so close. Anyway, but yeah, it's really changed up the way the boat sail, and it's sort of, everyone was getting really, really equal, and I think that's gone away now. Because there's everyone's on a learning curve again. And they're definitely noticing it.
You think that brought? It seemed to me as though it was such a compact race course, but the teams seemed almost a bit closer together now, just because they're back to a platform being the foils that is new to everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you still see the cream rise, I believe is the phrase.
Yeah,
but it just seemed a bit closer. Or is that an observation that's correct, you think?
Well, I think the shorter course made that happen, but I thought the starting was a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Other than
the Kiwis were having a bit of a shock.
We don't want to mention that.
Yeah, everyone kept asking what's going on. But
I also noticed on. It seemed the more, this goes against the Aussies winning, but the more experience that some of these teams have, they end up a bit too conservative.
Yeah,
and the people that are winning and blowing the back doors out of everyone, loose as.
Yeah.
Nikolai, loose as.
Mate, it was but the course, like the difference in pressure and angle was massive out there.
Yeah.
There was passing lanes
gains.
galore.
Yeah.
And,
I think that's what helped. I mean, there's no question that the opportunities were there. And sometimes it turns into a one-way track with these types of things.
Yeah,
this was a...
Yep.
If you could order a perfect racetrack,
it was there.
Lots of different
And the other observation, Jordan, the Frenchies didn't quite make it. But if they were on the track as well, do you think it was just on the edge of the stadium-ism of it, and one or two more boats could have brought the whole house of cards down?
They're definitely nervous about that because it was such a tight little course. That was definitely part of. I mean, you could see it was on Russell's mind a lot, and we had some experiments with doing 6 teams out there and trying to reduce that issue. It was on the extent of it. From the French team, not racing, so big, they were supposed to be racing. Really sad news for the French team. I had a look at their wing. It was in pieces. Basically, what happens is the wings are modular, and when you pull the modules together, in about four spots, there's like, if you imagine a Lego brick going together, there's little, there's a male part and a female part that have got to match up. From what I worked out, I don't reckon those parts were aligned, and that's why the French were out. They couldn't align those wings.
Wrong drawing.
Yeah. Exactly. And so there's a fair bit of retro carbon work was going on the weekend, is all I'll say. But Bruno was there with Quentin, and Bruno, he seemed pretty positive, possibly to do with the fact that he's about to make a massive announcement in Sydney. I think there is plenty of money has just landed in Bruno's pocket for the French team, and so he is in a very happy place, is all I'll say. So look out for France coming. If you're a fan of that team, I suspect they're going to come hard for the rest of the year, and their America's Cup team's going to be going good too. So, all positive if you're French.
You heard it.
So watch out for the Frenchies; they're coming hard.
Anyway, So it was super cool, super cool. Yes, all jokes aside, but the only other thing we need to say about SailGP now is the pressures on the Aussies to put on a great event. We've got that Shark Island. Like, if you haven't done Shark Island in Sydney Harbour, it's unreal. Like, if you want to just get locked on an island for a day.
Are you coming down, Joe?
100% there, BP. Okay. So yeah, we'll hook you up. I'll get you. I'll sort you out. But yeah, the event is going to be massive. So what's that? 8 and 9 in next month, Feb.
8, 9 Feb. Yep, correct.
So the Aussies need to come in numbers, show how much they're into it. But like SailGP's, she's up, she's running, she's
watch out for the Aussies. They'll be coming in numbers,
and France will be coming hard.
You two are so childish, so childish. Anyway, SailGP.
We got to wrap this. We got to wrap this show up.
The light wind falls.
This is way too long. This show.
Yeah, the light wind falls be in UK. So yeah, all right. If we wrap it up, Wallies are on. The Nationals are on for the Wallies. I just want to mention that. So the Vaikobi windsurfer. The Vaikobi Windsurfer Class Australian Nationals, they're on Lake Macquarie at Toronto Amateur Sailing Club. They're on day 4. They've had fleet racing. They've had the marathon, and they're going through
marathon in 25 to 30 K knots.
I know. How good would that have been? K knots. Yeah. They're doing slalom as we speak, and then they've got freestyle. So if you're in the region, rush down to Toronto. The bakery there will provide
not Toronto.
Hey?
No, it's Toronto.
Yeah, down Toronto.
You should be there, BP, doing a helicopter tack.
I should be doing something.
Doing your freestyle moves. But
doing a rail ride.
It's on.
Turn the sail upside down and put the masthead in the boot.
Westy. That's a Westy move. I don't know if you guys remember Westy.
I did that move. That was one of our combined with a pirouette jibe, of course.
Yeah. Cool. And congratulations to all the Mosquito competitors they had their nationals, and we didn't get to. The info came late, but Matt Stone and Gary McCaskill finishing on the win. Shannon and Jack won the Mark II, and in the Mark 1, Pete Keeley first. Rob Lott second, the man who's been sending me all the emails. Congratulations, Robbie Lott. Happy days, Mosquito Nationals. If you want a bit of...
G'day, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Just walking past in the background.
She just got your undies off the line. Jay, she just got your undies off the line.
My wife is in a towel for the listeners, and she's just come out of the shower, and the other two, she ran through shot, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunate for some.
Come on.
I'm very blessed to have an exceptionally beautiful wife. Oh, now she's gone. I got to go, boys.
Jordan's out. Anyway, eat radix. Good for nutrition. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah. See you later. Come on, Vaikobi. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Okay, eat radix. Yeah. Radix Nutrition. Use Barker as a discount code. It's been a great week. It's a massive episode.
Go to Vaikobi. Check it out. Yeah.
I've really got to go. Things are
Jordan is very distracted right now, people. This is the quickest.
He's put his undies on.
Hey, Jordan, you're normally the one that makes us hang around for a bit longer. So anyway, Australian Taxation Office. Should we talk about that?
What about Australia Day, Jay?
Oh, yeah.
Happy Australia Day, by the way.
Australia Day, everyone.
To Australia.
Yeah. Good on you. And what's it? Waitiki.
The world.
Hey, this is a good bit, this song. Just let this play a bit longer. This bit
All right.
The key change. The key change is actually really good.
Next week. I love you. It's time, mate. Thank you so much for listening in. And, honey, I'm home.